Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time today to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing my Queen Marchesa deck tech. Just a quick disclaimer before we jump into this video. I am recovering from the flu, so if I do sound a little bit nasally more than normal, that is the reason why. But y'all, it's my Marchesa deck tech. I love this deck. It will be listed in the down below. This deck is theme. If you are sitting here looking for a super competitive Marchesa deck tech, I'm afraid you're in the very wrong spot. This deck is thematic. It is royalty themed. I have thought about this deck for a very long time before I've actually executed it. I have decks that are way more on the power scale than this deck. However, I absolutely love it. It is so incredibly fun to play. The theme just makes it so incredibly silly. The removal, I actually have quite a bit of removal in this deck. It might not be, again, the top-notch removal, but the deck is theme. It is what it is. When I actually uploaded this deck on a Tapped Out, I don't know the logistics of how this works at all, but it actually listed this as 99% casual and 1% competitive, which I find very hilarious because, like I said, that was not my intention at all. This is definitely one of my more middle-of-the-road commander decks, but this deck can do some very powerful things just because it is one of my more least powerful decks. There is a lot of powerful things that we do. We got a ton of creatures in this deck. Let's just jump into it. We start talking about the mana base. Of course, we do. Like I said, the deck will be listed in the down below. We have, first off, we have our swamps. So we've got 7 of these. We have 7 mountains. We'll even split there, and then we don't have an even split when it comes to the plains because the deck, it's primarily white. It has the primarily white symbols as well. With that, like a lot of the things that are white have more than one white symbol, so we got to make sure that we're casting our stuff. So there are 11 of these, so that is that. And then let's talk about our specialty lands. So first off, we've got Command Tower, because, yep. We have Evolving Wilds, and similarly to that, we have Terramorphic Expanse. Got to have a little bit of filtering. Along with Fabled Passage. I love Fabled Passage. I pretty much run this in everything that I can. Field of Ruin for just a little bit of land destruction. I like Field of Ruin. I actually only have one of the shock lands. This deck actually does have a couple of tweaks, a couple of things that are in the process, and one of the things is I actually don't have the rest of the shock lands. I have plenty of shock lands. Like, between Paul and I, we have a ton of shock lands. I just don't have the remaining set for this deck. Set is on my list of cards to acquire. I know they are going to be reprinted in Ravnica Remastered, so I'll see if I want to get those arts or something else. But for the right now, we only had extras of this, and I just haven't gotten around to buying the other ones. I totally forgot that I didn't have those. So along with that, I'd also like to get the Triland, and that's also on my list of something to get. So then I have Myriad Landscape. It might not seem like it makes sense to have this in the deck because I do have other colors. This will probably get traded out for the Triland or one of the shotguns. I do really like Myriad, just not as much in a 3-color deck. And then I have Opal Palace because theme, of course, and I actually do really enjoy this card. Marchesa dies quite a bit. People want to get her off the table, so the fact that I can Opal Palace and make her a little bit bigger, and the art also on this is stunning. Reliquary Tower. We don't have a ton of card draw in this deck, but we do have some. And then I have Vault of Champions because I have this foil laying around. 5 lands, that's the sweet spot. If you know, you know. Next up, we have enchantments. We have 7 enchantments in there. The first up we have is Bastion of Remembrance. It's a cheeky card. I like it. You get a 1/1 human. Not a whole lot to say there. And then whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. Our stuff is, going to be dying because we're killing things or our opponent's killing things. So Bastion just helps us gain a little bit of life. We've got Greed in there as one of our card option cards because just look at this art and tell me it's not beautifully thematic. He's surrounded by a pile of gold on a throne. Come on, it's perfect. I also love Greed. I have Land Tax in here. Of course, this card saves us so incredibly much. I picked up a bunch of these when they got reprinted. Land Tax is awesome. It helps get to your lands, thins your deck. I do have Rest in Peace in here. I don't have a ton of graveyard stuff to get things back from the graveyard. There are a couple of things, and we'll kind of talk about them briefly when we get there, that kind of mess us up just a touch when we get to our graveyard sort of stuff, but I do really love Rest in Peace. I got this card in a trade, and I figured it was kind of perfect, and I figured I'd just slot it in here. Rest in Peace is a great card. So many people are doing graveyard things. Sometimes it does mess you up, but that's kind of the cost of Rest in Peace, Rising of the Day is one of my favorite creatures you control have haste cards. Now, Marchesa herself does have haste. A lot of people forget that. So she hits very hard, but legendary creatures you control +1/+0. We actually do have a decent amount of legendary cards in here, so there you go. But I just love it for the haste because I like playing my things and smacking with them immediately. We have Smothering Tithe in here because, I mean, of course we do. Not only is it thematic, Smothering Tithe is an incredible card. My friend Ruben absolutely hates this card. He is always like, refuses to pay for the Smothering Tithe. Like he always pays the Smothering Tithe because he gets very upset when people don't. Smothering Tithe is great. You get treasures. It's perfect. I wish I had more things in here that gain treasure because I actually don't think I do. Next up, we have Trapped in the Tower. Are there better cards? Yes, but you tell me that this is not the most thematic card in here. Come on. First off, we've got this beautiful Howard Lyon art. I absolutely love these. I'd always say, I'd love to get this card signed. Howard Lyon has a beautiful signature. I would just love to get this signed and be like, yo, I actually play with this card because I guarantee there's like so many more cards that he signs that people have actually played with. But I love Trapped in a Tower. It's great. It can't do flying, which is the only thing, but there nothing beats saying somebody plays something and then you're like, hey, that's a cute creature you have, and guess what? Now it's trapped in a tower. It's great. Moving on right along to artifacts. We have the 3 diamond cards because there's a ton of different rocks and all this sort of stuff that we could run in here, but I feel like the diamonds just absolutely fit. We love them. You know, they enter tap, they're a little slow. Their theme, I don't care. We have Chromatic Lantern in here because, of course, we do. If I'm playing 2 or more colors in Commander, there's a really good chance I'm running Chromatic Lantern. Oh, Command Tower 2. I have Lightning Greaves, and similarly to that, we have Swiftfoot Boots because we want to protect our Marchesa. She already has haste, but we want a way to protect her, or maybe to do one of our other things as well. Norn's Annex is a card that I really enjoy. It helps us have that little bit of protection along with its very thematic. It is a little bit on the more CMC side, but there are times that I just pay the 4 life because I truly cannot care. I can't be bothered. And then people just have to pay, you know, if they're not playing white, they just have to pay with their life, which is just great. It stops people from attacking you. And then I have Perilous Vault because, of course, I have Perilous Vault. It's my favorite board wipe, so. Soul Ring. And I have 2 of the talismans. I have Talisman of Conviction and Talisman of Hierarchy. There's the other Talisman card, which I may get in there just to make sure that I have all 3 of them. So, yeah. Next up, we have Instants. I only actually have 5 in this deck. The first one I have is Erase because this art is absolutely perfect. Come on. I love it. It's great. Next up, we have Murder. Come on. Better cards? Sure. But it's a guy being stabbed with a javelin on... I think it's a javelin. It looks like a javelin. Or maybe it's a really long sword. On a throne. Come on. It's perfect. Next up, we have Path to Exile. Of course. Settle the Wreckage. It's a good board wipe. I might actually also have this in Angels. I can't remember. I think I got this in a box or I don't actually remember acquiring this card, but anyways, I have it. This is a really, really solid card. I love that it is instant speed. Yeah, it's only attacking creatures, but you can totally blow someone out of the water. You know, you get someone down, it's 1v1 at the end of the game, whatever. You exile all of their things, all their chances and all that stuff, and then they just get lands and you just don't care. And the last instant I have is Swords to Plowshare. Because, you know, it's a good card. Next up for sorceries, we have 7. First off, we have is Council's Judgment. This is actually a really solid card, and if your opponents play smartly, they can actually get rid of multiple things on the field. What I love so much about this card is it's non-land permanent. You don't control it, so you can get rid of multiple things for 3 mana, and they get exiled. It's a great card. One of our board wipes we have, of course, is Day of Judgment. We've been talking a lot about that. I also have Wrath of God. I have Disrupt Decorum. My friend Roberto absolutely loves this card and has inspired me, and now I also love this card. It is just a funny card. Like, if you're playing red, please play this, and if you ever hear me say that I like a red card, you know that means something, because I'm not a red mage. I love Disrupt Decorum. You get to mess with everybody. You're goading everything. The flavor text says dinner and politics don't mix. The art is incredible. Like, what is not to love about this card? It's great. Merciless Eviction. This is one of my favorite board wipes. I know I say that all the time, but guys, there's just so many good board wipes. It's great. It exiles. Yeah, it's only targeted like thing, but who cares? Another one that I love is Ruinous Ultimatum. Ruinous Ultimatum is great. I love when board wipes don't hit me, and Ruinous Ultimatum is a card that literally doesn't. By the way, when I first built this deck, I'm not kidding you guys, I think I had 9 or 11 board wipes. I can't remember which, and I actually had to take some out because I literally had too much. I know that sounds crazy, like you can never have a... No, guys, like there were times I had 3, 4 board wipes in my hand. It was obscene. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. So I had to take some out. Anyways, Ruinous is great. It's one-sided. It doesn't hit you. There you go. And last card, or last sorcery, last board wipe is Tragic Arrogance. I really, really enjoy Tragic Arrogance. It's sacrifice, so it gets around a lot of things. Like you can't target your opponent's things, which is really, really great. Doesn't target. This is each player, so it does hit you. I don't honestly really think it matters though. It gets around indestructible and things like that. Now for my favorite part, which is the creatures. I've got 34 in this deck. There is a subhuman tribal, you will notice. Maybe not sub. The majority of these creatures are actually humans. You will notice I'm not really running things that, again, I wouldn't deem to be in Marchesa's land, for example. So I'm not running, like, angels or anything like that. I am running a dragon because my thought was, like, there needs to be a dragon to protect the people. But anyways, yeah, it's like subhuman. There's a lot of humans in here. First off, we have Adeline. If you are not familiar with this card, please introduce yourself to this card because it is absolutely incredible. This card hits so incredibly hard. If you're playing white in Commander, I really don't care what you're playing. There's a really good chance you're probably going to want an Adeline. She's a little expensive. She's about like a $10 or so card. Absolutely worth it. She's got vigilance and her power equal to the number of creatures you control. So she's already going to hit really hard with her power. And then whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. You are going to generate so many cards with this, and her power is just going to be absolutely massive. This is a great card. I love it. I have Adriana, Captain of the Guard. I also have this card in Ladies. And I think I also might actually have it in, what's the deck? Reen as well, which is how much I love it. I love Adriana. It's got melee. Other creatures you control have melee. All your stuff is going to hit for so much. You're spreading your damage. This with a card like this just absolutely hits just so incredibly hard because you're making those tokens for free 99. I love Adriana. I love cards that hit, that buff your team and get a little bit bigger. And there's quite a lot of buffs in this deck you're going to notice. We've got Alesha. Don't worry, she smiles at death. This is one of those cards that anti-synergies with the Rest in Peace, which has happened to me like one game. Sometimes it just happens where you draw your Alesha when you get Rest in Peace. But you know what? Honestly, I guarantee you someone's probably going to remove that Rest in Peace before. So there you go. There's quite a lot of stuff that has power 2 or less in this deck. I believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know what this would be. Someone can let me know in the comments how that would work. But we have a lot of stuff in here that's got pretty small power, so there's a lot of good targets for that. She's also got First Strike. She's also a 3/2. I like Alesha. I had her for a brief period of time, and then I had one laying around, and I was like, I figured I'd just try her out. I don't think I've drawn her, aside from the one game with the Rest in Peace, but I do like Alesha a lot. We have Barrett? Steward of Argive. This is a mini little protect yourself kind of thing. It's got vigilance. Creatures can attack your planeswalker unless they pay 1 for each of those creatures, so you can really mess up your opponent's combat math. Really, really, really good in the early game, but it's also definitely good in the mid game as well when your opponent needs to do stuff. But they also have to do that. It's an incentive to not attack you. And it's also got vigilance, so it can also hit for a little bit, which is good. It's a good Alesha target. I did mention the dragon, and I actually have Balefire. I love Balefire Dragon. I'm actually replacing this card with the card Skyline Despot. You become the monarch when it comes in, and when you're the monarch on your upkeep, you get a 5/5 dragon. That's not to say that I don't love Balefire. I just think that card fits a little bit better thematically. Balefire isn't a great card though. If you are looking for an option to run a dragon or just playing dragons or whatever it is, Balefire is a good one. Again, my thought process was, I know this is human tribal pretty much, but my thought process was there's a dragon that needs to protect the land. There you go. Deals combat damage to a player, deals that much damage to each creature the player controls, a little board wipe in 1, and it's got flying, of course. Our big weakness in here is that we don't have flying, and my thought process for him running the new dragon was that it will protect. Then I have Bastion Protector. I think this card is really cool. I will say, don't underestimate, like, Marchesa having, like, a little bit more attack. Like I mentioned, there's quite a bit of buffs in this deck, and we can get pretty close to killing people with commander damage in this game, which I know might not sound like it, but guys, Marchesa, people just don't want to block her. You know, she's got death touch. She also has haste, so again, she's constantly hitting. Sometimes I do leave her up as a blocker, but, you know, if I'm making those assassin tokens that'll get death touch, you know, there you go. But with this, if I've got Marchesa out, she becomes a 5/5 and has indestructible. A 5/5 death touch indestructible is by nothing, you know, is a good thing to have. So there you go. Then I have Benelith Marshal. This card I got a really long time ago, and I have been waiting for the day to finally use it. Today is finally that day. It's a 3-mana 3/3. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. There's not a whole lot to say. It's a knight. It buffs our team. Makes Marchesa a 4/4. There you go. This card is incredible, and if you are playing Human Tribal, either in this deck or you're building Human Tribal, you absolutely need this card. This card says, whenever this or another human ETBs, creatures you control gain +1/+1 and Vigilance until end of turn. There are turns where I will do this, get the trigger, all my team gets +1/+1. Okay, we've got ourselves our little team, our little dudes, whatever, and then they all get bigger, so like, if I make 3 dudes in a turn, all my team gets +3/+3 and Vigilance. That is awesome. I've hit people so hard with this. Paul is so anti this card. Like, one game I played it, and the next game I had this card, and Paul was like, this card needs to get removed immediately. It's one of those cards that doesn't look super overwhelming. I promise it is. It's a great card. It hits very hard. Blade Historian is a new card to me. I know this card has been out for a minute. I wanted to give it a shot. I've yet to draw it. I do think that this card is strong. It's only attacking creatures you control, but I figured it's a pretty solid card, and I mean, a double striking Marchesa seems pretty good. Or double striking anything. Chance that you might not have heard of this card called Cemetery Protector. It's only been printed one time in, I believe, a Commander product. This card is really cool. It's got flash, and when it enters the battlefield, you exile a card from a graveyard. Now, what I really like about this is you can target somebody's thing in response, right? So if somebody is doing a bunch of graveyard shenanigans and all that jazz, you play your Cemetery Protector to, you know, do that, right? This also does anti-synergy with Resident Beast, just as something to note. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell with that type, you get a 1/1 human token. So this card with this card gets out of hand very fast because you're playing those lands, you're playing, you know, whenever you play, I usually do creatures is probably going to be my main thing, but again, if somebody is constantly bringing back an instant or sorcery, whatever, I just want to get that thing exiled. It serves as that, and then I just play my lands and I get my 1/1. It's a good card. I like Cemetery Protector. Charming Prince. I like Charming Prince. I think it's cute. I think it's cheeky. You know, it does a lot of different things, which I'm a huge fan about. I can blink stuff. You know, I could blink my Cemetery Protector, pick a new target. I don't think there are a ton of like ETB like type of things. There's not as much of, you know, getting things back. I'll take a look to see as we go through to see if there's any other good targets for blinking something. But also I can gain life or I can scry. I've got those options. Next up I have is Copper Coat Vanguard. So all my other humans I control gain +1/+0. Again, don't underestimate me buffing my team a little bit. And then they also have Ward, which I will say, honestly, guys, I don't know if it's just my play group, but I feel like everybody always forgets about Ward as a mechanic. You know, they'll go to target something and it's like, hey, did you remember that you got to pay an extra for that? So Crashing Drawbridge is just funny to me. I like it. A lot of people don't like this card, and I understand. It's just cheeky. It itself doesn't have haste. I know a lot of people like to play their thing, and think they can tap it. You can't do that. Crashing Drawbridge doesn't have haste. But, again, it's theme. It's cute. I get to make my little team have haste. Next up, I have Denethor, Ruling Steward. So, I don't think I've ever drawn this card, or if I have drawn it, I haven't played it in a game, so I don't know I can really attest to, like, the power of this card. If a creature died under this turn, it's at the beginning of my end step. So it's only on my end step I get a 1/1 human, and then I can sack another creature to have each opponent lose. So I thought that's kind of a little bit of ways of draining my opponent, so... Oh, Eowyn, Fearless Knight. This card is awesome. There's a lot of stuff going on here. It's a 4-mana 3/4 with haste. She hits. She ETBs. You just get to exile target creature an opponent controls with power, with a greater power. That's so easy. You're exiling your opponent's big thing for like free 99. This is a good target for my Charming Prince. Legendary creatures I control gain protection from each of those creatures' colors. I realistically, honestly care about, I just get to exile something for free 99. I love that. This is an awesome card. Next, I have Erkenbrand, Lord of Westfold. So when this or another human control ETBs, they get +1/+0. There's a decent amount of stuff in here that I get the chance to do, that I get the chance to bring back. The more, guys, I'm looking at it, the more I feel like I have bigger things. I think that Alesha is probably going to be on my chopping block the more I'm thinking about it. I don't think I have a lot of targets in here the more and more I'm looking. So, anyways, just as a note. Yeah, buffs your team. There you go. There's not a whole lot to say. I have General Kudro. Again, it's anots buffs my team. It's just other humans, this one, but like as we mentioned, the majority of these creatures are humans in here. And then when this or another human ETBs, I get to exile target card from opponent's yard. I'm graveyard hating, apparently. I can also sack the humans to switch our creature's power 4 greater. I haven't done that, but it's there if I need it. Along with our human theme, we also have this card, which is a great option. It's called General's Enforcers, and it says legendary humans you control have indestructible. The majority of cards, like the last couple of cards that we've talked about, these are all humans, and they're all legendary humans. There are a couple of humans we have in here that are not. The next card is an example. So it's not going to hit our entire team, but Marchesa is a target and all that stuff. I've also got 4. I can exile a target card from a yard, and if it's a creature, I get a 1/1. So it's just another option of a thing that I can do. Good card. This card I think is fun. It's called Handwear Milita Captain. So beginning of upkeep, if I control 4 or more creatures, I get to transform it, which is very easy to do. We have a lot of creatures in here, a lot of tokens. And it turns into Westvale Cult Leader. Its power type is equal to the number of creatures you control, and at the beginning of end step, I get a 1/1. This can turn into something really big. I've had games where this has been 5, 6, 7 damage, so it's a good card. And then I have Jorina Kudro. So this says, whenever it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human for each time your commander has been cast from the command zone. Like I mentioned, Marchesa is targeted a lot. She's board wiped. She dies a lot. So I can definitely cast this and get some 1/1s. And then other humans I control get +2/+0. Again, I have so many buffs in this. Our team is definitely bigger base power for sure. And this is one card that does that. I like it. I've got Kambal because we gotta have our little death and taxes. You know, it's thematic. I also love death and taxes. It's whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2, we gain 2. We got a little bit of life drain, life gain going on in this deck, which I do really enjoy. I like Kambal. I got this idea to put it in here for my friend Trav. Knight of the White Orchid. It's another Charming Prince target. I really enjoy Knight of the White Orchid. You know, it's a mini little land tax on a creature, and then you're left with a 2/2. I really enjoy Knight of the White Orchid a lot. If an opponent has more lands, which there's a really good chance that they will, we get to search for a plains. And it just doesn't enter the battlefield tap, so. Another buff we have is Konmig, Sleeping Dragon. I was looking at humans, and this card popped up on my radar, and I was like, oh, it's very simple. It's 4 mana, it's a 2/2. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. But I really liked it as a buff, and I have really enjoyed it when I've played with this card. Mangara the Diplomat is an awesome card. So it's a 4 mana, 2/4. It's got lifelink, which I love. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of them are attacking you or planeswalkers, you get to draw a card. de-incentivizes your opponents from attacking you, kind of. And then whenever an opponent casts their second spell, draw a card. I've really found that if they don't want to attack you, you know what, that's fine. But people are casting so many spells in the turn, so you get to draw a card off of this. One of our card draw options in here, and I like it. Michiko Kanda, Truth Seeker. Back in my one of my old ladies builds, I actually had this card in here. Forgot about it, and it came up in my radar when I was looking for cards to put in this deck. I decided to put it back in here. So whenever a source opponent controls deals damage to me, they sack a permanent. I haven't drawn this card yet, but I can attest to when I had it in my ladies deck originally that I really enjoyed playing with it. I have Audric, Master Tactician. I've not seen Audric pop up in a real long time. I like it. You know, he is 3/4. He's got first strike. When this and at least 3 other creatures that take control attack, we've got a ton of creatures. So there you go. You choose which creatures block this combat and how they block, which I just think is so incredibly fun, especially because Marchesa had Death Touch. So it's a fun little synergy there. Next up, we have Palace Jailer, which is fun. It's cheeky. You become the Monarch. So just in case, you know, you're not the Monarch, you can always play this to become that Monarch again. And when it's battlefield, you get to exile an opponent controls until an opponent becomes the Monarch. So it's another fun blink target with Charming Prince. So this card I have yet to draw. It's called Rem Carlos Stalwart Slayer. What a name. Wow. It's got flying. It's got haste. If a spell would deal damage to you or another permanent I control, prevent it. And then if a spell would deal damage to an opponent or planeswalker, it deals that much damage +1 instead. This card's fine. I just kind of put it in here. I haven't drawn it yet, so I can't really attest to how it is. So, Royal Assassin. I cannot tell you how many people I blow out of the water with this. One of my favorite things to do is have like my Rising of the Day or my Crashing Drawbridge and then literally just do this immediately. People are gonna attack. They're gonna want to do it. They're gonna want to tap down their creatures, and then you've made it hard for them figuring that out. Maybe you desensitize them from attacking you because now, you know, you can go ahead and do your Royal Assassin and you can destroy them. I love this card. It's flavorful. It's great. Next up, we have Shanid, Sleeper Scourge. This card is so cool. It's got Menace. Other legendary creatures you control have Menace. Like we mentioned, we have a solid amount. Not all of them, but a bunch of cards in here are legendaries. And then when I play a legendary land or cast a legendary spell, I get to draw a card and I get to gain one. I like it. I like that this card does multiple things. Draws me cards, gives me Menace. Next up, we have Thalia's Lancers. I almost took this out, but I'm actually finding it not wanting to take out. It's a good Charming Prince target. We have a pretty decent amount of Charming Prince targets here. You get to do it for a legendary card. As I've mentioned, like this would be a pretty solid option for you. There's a lot of things that we could target in here to tutor, and then I've got a 4/4 first striker. Good card. Next up I have is Theoden, King of Rohan. Whenever this or another human I control ETBs, target creature gains double strike, so my Marchesa's hitting hard. This being an 8/8 with double strike seems pretty good. You know, this giving that Menace or anything like that, super, super great targets to give things some double strike to hit harder. Trin, Champion of Freedom. I do not have the partner in there, but very simple card at the beginning of your run step. If you attacked, which we are doing, we're attacking quite a bit, we get to create a 1/1 human, and it's a 3/3. Not a whole lot to say. I like it. And the last card that we have in this deck is we have Weathered Wayfarer. I like that this is any land I can get, so anything at all that I need, I can get that from Weathered Wayfarer. So, guys, that is it. Oh, also, I'll show you guys the sleeve that I got. I believe this is a Dragon Shield. It's like got the texture on it, but I thought that the art was very fitting. So, guys, that is my Marchesa deck tag. I love this deck, and I really hope that that's apparent. Like, this is such an incredibly fun deck. It's definitely one of my favorites to play, and it's just a really good, like, if I were to sit down and play with people that maybe I didn't know or anything like that, and I didn't really gauge power level or anything, this deck can really play at all power levels. It can be really powerful, but it can also hold itself back. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this deck tag. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch y'all in my next